thank you for your blessings, and we thank you for your grace, your mercy, and for all that you provide for us. Grant us with a spirit of boldness, a spirit of eagerness, a spirit of desire, heart. We reach out and to invite and see and share. Grant us strength to the journey, partaking greater things as we share today. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. Amen. On this first Sunday in August, we want to share with you, and as we respond to the call of Christ in our lives become a canvas on which God paints his many wonders. And as we embrace this journey, we want to embrace it with faith, but we also want to focus and understand where our focus should be, which is on the remarkable things that God constantly does in our life. God is always and continually doing great things for us. One of the most interesting things in our world today, and we're going to talk about come and see is our subject that we're going to focus on, which Philip told Nathaniel in his remarks. We'll talk about later. But I have found one of the most interesting features today is social media. One of the things about social media is that people will post anything and everything. Not always because it is a meaningful post. There are those who will post something very meaningful and with the intent of scriptural teaching and of growth. I post a daily devotion. The devotion that I give you every morning in email, I also post it on Facebook. And it has a pictorial type of post that comes with it, but I post it so that people can read and edify themselves spiritually. But some folk would just post junk, and I'm being nice about that word, but they would just post things out just because they desire to be posted. They want people to see. And I guess even though you don't know what you're seeing, but they are somehow themselves interested, and they want you to become interested in the stuff that really does not sometimes make sense to the rest of the world. But they just have a desire to post it so that others can see. But there's also, and I discovered this, there's also, which is why I took our Facebook page to the next level. I didn't realize I could do that, but I posted it at the professional level. When you post on Facebook at professional level and your post goes viral, that means you get more than 500 or 1,000 views. You can make money. You can make money. Yes, you will get paid by Facebook. And I discovered that's why people put stuff on Facebook that's unreal. They'll post, there's one going around, you may have seen it, a famous actor dies in a hunting accident. It don't tell you who it is. You got to go in the post to find out, and after you go in and find out that it ain't nobody, but it's just a flaw to get you to check in. But if they get 1,000 folk to do that, they can get paid. And folk will go in it just to be nosy. They want to find out who this famous actor is, because they don't give you a name, they don't give you a face. They just post a little picture of the accident maybe, or the hunting, woods that he went into and make it look like the police are going in there and it's a fake photograph just to get you to click in so that they can get enough of us to collect the $1,000 for something that has gone viral. So it's interesting here. The post is so that they can get likes and they can make it go viral, which means they are getting paid. In our text this morning, there is something mysteriously happening here. Looking at our text in John 1:43, Jesus uses throughout the gospel the word come and see. He's always telling people to come and see. In 1 John, it's not so much him though. In 1 John, we hear him extending an invitation to his first disciples, and he bids them to come to a journey of a lifetime. A journey that will ultimately change their lives, their world, and humanity forever. And the amazing thing about this is it's a issue of faith. It's about faith, and that's a 2,000-year-old invitation, and it's the same invitation that still applies today. Many people are still struggling on how they're going to answer that question. When we step out of our comfort zones, when we enter into a level of faith, we are taking a chance. Will it be amazing? Will it be worth my time? Will it be something that I'm looking for? Will it please me? Will it be something that is edifying to me? Jesus said, come and see. Don't sit there and worry about it and speculate what might happen. Come in and see it for yourself. That's the only answer Jesus could really come. You sitting there asking other folks, should I go? Is it worth it? Have you been there? No, come and see for yourself. You might just be surprised at what you might find. Yes, there's always a risk involved. There's always a risk, just as there was for those first disciples. Just as there is whenever someone wants to show you an amazing discovery, or even if you get trapped into one of those bogus social media videos. You might get lucky and hit the jackpot, and you might get zonked, at which point you probably need to get out of it as quickly as possible, because some of those traps are geared toward allowing them time to hack into your account and be able to request your invite. One of the amazing things I've seen about Facebook is I always get invitations from folk who are already on my friends list. And then I always have to call them up and I said, did you send me a second invitation to your friends list? And they said, no. Sometimes people who are on your friendship, they'll send you another one hoping that you will join them the second time in order for them again to hack into your account. So I may have friends that may no longer be on my account, because if I know you're in there once, I don't do it. I don't do you 2 times. I delete you. So I don't really know if I've deleted good ones or bad ones, but if I get two for you, I'm only going to keep the one that's already there. Because 9 times out of 10, when you ask to join, I'm going to call you to make sure it's you anyway. I always verify my friends. The question is, as the invitation goes beyond mere observation, but it also summons us to experience and witness the miraculous nature of Jesus. Let me read the text again for you. It says, the next day Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip. He said to him, follow me. Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Peter found Nathanael, and he said to him, we have found him about whom Moses in the law wrote and said, the prophet wrote and said, this is Jesus, is the son of John from Nazareth. And Nathanael said to him, can anything good come out of Nazareth? And then Philip replied, come and see. So when Jesus saw Nathanael coming, he said, he is truly an Israelite who there is no deceit. And Nathanael answered, where did you get to know me? Jesus answered, I saw you under the fig tree before Jesus called you. Go, Nathanael replied, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. And there's something about this response because Nathanael figured that this man must be somebody. He is pretty much reading the future and telling me things that has happened, and he wasn't even there to witness. So surely what Philip was telling him must be the truth. You are the King of Israel. Jesus answered, you do believe. Do you believe because I have told you what I saw under the fig tree? Or do you believe me for some other reason? You will see greater things than these. And Jesus said unto him, verily, truly, I tell you, you will see heaven open up, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon God. Jesus is quick to tell him, you see it now, but you're going to see even greater if you continue in this journey. And that's what it really is. This is an invitation. All of us may have gotten this invitation. Some others that we have opportunity to share with need to hear this invitation. But the journey starts with an invitation to encounter. Our journey begins with an invitation from Jesus himself. And we hear the simple and profound words, follow me. Now, it may be hard to understand the nature of these words, but what they would have meant in Jesus' time, it means one thing to have a friend or a parent say, follow me. But if you can imagine a stranger saying to you, and further still, you can imagine actually following them. They got up and followed a man that they had just met. And then now it did help the fact that they did have a belief that this was the Son of God who had come. But they like most of the 21st century people of today, probably would need to check their IDs. You just don't get up, because we're taught by our parents, at least we used to be taught by our parents back in my time, not to follow strangers, to make sure you knew who you were following before you had a chance to go with them. So you did not just jump up and follow anybody who said, come and follow me, unless they were your teacher and somebody who was over you. That's why the teacher always introduces themselves on the first day, so that you'll know when she says, get up out your seat and come with me. You'll know to go, but you're taught not to. So imagine someone coming to you and asking you, I would like for you to follow me. I would like for you to come and meet Jesus with me. Or even if you just said, come to church, or to a party, or to a gathering, or to a meeting, or wherever you were inviting them to, they first off want to know what it is. Now, if you tell them you're going to a party 9 times out of 10, they would want to go. And the only thing that would stop them from going was if they had some other important engagement that was more important, even though they really wanted to go to the party, but they have to fulfill that secondary obligation. Now, if they were coming to church, all they really would say no for is because they want to stay home and watch TV. They don't always have appointments on Sunday at 10 o'clock, unless it's the TV. But here's the issue. It's an answer, that it's a challenge. It's an invitation to some type of encounter. Can you imagine yet a stranger that you say following a person? But these are words that are not as creepy or back alley type invitations that they might be, but this is a rabbinical calling, a pastoral invitation is what it is, to begin a permanent and become a permanent disciple of Christ. And the Jews had a set guideline, which was defined by this type of relationship. This is where we get what we call the invitation to Christian discipleship comes from. But the invitation at this instance, and this is important for us to understand, this rabbinic invitation that Philip is giving is not on Sunday morning after the preacher just gets through preaching. It is an invitation that happened on the streets of Galilee, where Jesus had encountered Philip, and Philip went to find Nathanael and invited him to come see the guy that they had met. In short, this was a man who met Jesus, who identified Jesus in his life, who decided to go and tell Nathanael, come and see the man who I have identified as the Son of God. So it's really an invitation to Christian discipleship. It's just not on Sunday, and it's on the streets of Jerusalem where you're finding someone who doesn't know Jesus yet, and you're inviting him to come to see, not to come to commit to, not to come to know. Just come and see for yourself about the man who I have professed to be the Son of God. Now, if you have not professed him to be the man, you ain't got no business giving a person an invitation to come to see somebody you have not committed to yourself. That's just a commitment to come gossip and gawk, like most of us do when we do when we're on the highway and we see a rolled over truck on the other side of the road. We got to slow down. Can't see nobody because all the dead folk are on the inside of the truck, but you got to check it out. You got to see it. All the folk behind you trying to get you to go, because believe it, we don't think about that. There are actually some people behind you that aren't interested in that truck, and they got things to do, and they want to proceed in their journey, and you sitting there watching. If you're caught up that much about the truck, pull your car over to the side of the road, get out and run over there and see if you can help somebody. Instead of just, but we just got to come and see, because I don't know the right word. We just got to see it. We just want to see. We just want to see. But come see for yourself whether or not Philip is telling the truth about the Son of God. So Philip responded to Jesus' call. And he sought out Nathanael with a joyful declaration. We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, whose prophet also wrote, "This is Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." And Philip rightly understood who Jesus was. He understood the potential of knowing him, and he was calling to Philip with excitement and overjoyed and eagerness, and shared his discovery with Nathanael. He had found somebody that they had been waiting for a long time. Moses wrote about them. This is the man that they said is coming, and he's here. And he was excited. He was overjoyed. He was enthused. He had enthusiasm. His life was different. When you meet Jesus, your life ought to become exciting. It ought to become enthusiastic. It ought to change for the better. You ought to be happy that you found him. Hit the $1 million jackpot, you tell somebody. You might not tell your friends because you don't want to share that money. But you tell your mama, your wife, or sometimes you might not tell your wife either, but you'll run and tell somebody. If not, you'll run and find you a banker who will help you. If you got any common sense, you'll run and find you a banker who can help you manage all that money. You'll get excited about that. But when the same thing ought to happen when you meet the one that you heard about in Sunday school, that calmed the sea, that walked on the water, that raised Lazarus from the dead, who brought and healed the sick, who redeemed you, but above all, who died on Calvary, that you might inherit eternal life. You ought to want to tell as many folk as you can. But unfortunately, Nathanael was skeptical. And he said, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" It's to this objection that we have given these precious 3 words: come and see. Nazareth had a bad reputation, I guess. They didn't think good folk came from there. But Philip just said, "Come and see." Don't go by what you heard. Don't go by what folk told you. Come and see. Philip invited Nathanael to see for himself in his own eyes this traveler. If this traveler isn't in fact the long-awaited Messiah, the one that the Jewish people had been waiting for. And what this says to us is just as Peter has shared his encounter with Jesus, we are called to share our experiences with those around us. When we respond to Jesus' invitation to follow him, we become witnesses to his transformative power. Our lives become the living testimonies compelling others to come and see the miraculous works of Christ. What this text suggests to us is that you don't have to be able to fully explain to others who Jesus is and what Jesus can do. Just get them to come and see for themselves. If you get them to come and see, Jesus will explain himself. You don't have to give them all the details. You can't explain Jesus all in one sentence to them. Come and see for yourself. And when you see for yourself, see if Jesus does not do for you what he has done for me. Just come and see. And see if Jesus does not respond to what you're looking for. Yes, there'll be people who will respond with skepticism like Nathaniel did. But if we believe in what we're asking them to come to, if we see, we have to trust that Jesus is capable of dealing with skepticism. It is our job to extend the invitation. It is Jesus' job to prove himself to others. Now, I know he can. If he proves himself to Philip, he can prove himself to even Paul was convicted when he met him on Damascus Road. You don't need other folk to sell you on Jesus. Come and see for yourself. And seeing now becomes miraculous, because as we move into the text, the skeptical Nathaniel does in fact get up to go see for himself. And as we read in those verses, I saw you while you were still under the fig tree before Philip called you. That meant something to Nathaniel, because Nathaniel's saying, wait a minute, I didn't see you, but yet you saw me even before Philip came, which means you knew Philip was coming to tell me about you. And now you're telling me that you saw me and you know me, and not only do you know me, but you know my name. And you identified me before I could even identify you. That you must be a man with miraculous power. You must in fact be the Son of God, the King of Israel. Nathanael's eyes were opened when he came and saw for himself. He took a chance. He stepped out on faith and he went to see for himself. And when he got there, he was amazed by what he found and what he saw and what he experienced. But he would have never had that experience had he not came to see for himself. Learning to follow Christ can become an eye-opening experience. It opens our eyes to miraculous blessings. It goes beyond the natural realm, allowing us to see the divine power of Christ in our lives. Following Christ is an open door invitation for our spiritual eyes to the eyes and the hands of God at work in us in unexpected ways. God at work in our lives each and every day, working miracles, doing things that we often cannot see nor realize. Following Jesus is a part of how these miracles are revealed to us and how we begin to grow in the lives and the knowledge of the grace of God. Sometimes we don't always see how God works in our lives. Kayla, who is the oldest child of Lucille, who just went on the road, when they took her off the life support system, she called me and she asked me if I would do the eulogy. And I said this, she said, no, she's not dead yet. Well, I told her, have faith and wait for God to make the final play, because in her mind, she was going to die in a matter of hours. So the whole day went by and I was waiting for a second call and the call did not come. So I got up the next morning and I was waiting for another call, and she posted on Facebook, my mother is still hanging on. I told my wife, God is not ready. God, I don't know what the doctor said, but when God is ready to call her, she will. And that was last week. Now 7 days later, she finally went to sleep. And I'm going to tell you, and my wife told me this sometimes people get tired of you worrying about them. And it did not make sense to me until my wife explained it to me. She had been in the room and she stepped out the room for something. And it was at that moment that she died. When she came back in, the nurse was already telling her she was dead. And my wife told me, sometimes they get tired of you watching over them and they wait for you to leave before you die. And it clicked in my mind when my wife told me this, because that's what my mother did to me. I was at the hospital. I went out to go to the men's room. By the time I got back, she was dead. Sometimes folk get tired of you watching them. And they say, I want to go in peace so that you'll know I'm at rest with the Lord. And she called us, and I said, the Lord knew what he was doing. You thought it was going to be 7 hours. It was 7 days. The Lord needed to challenge you. The Lord sometimes challenges our faith. The Lord has his will. The Lord has his way. The Lord has blessed him because one, the Lord made you take her out of that hospital and take her off that machine and get her out of that comfortable. Kept her alive long enough for them to make a decision to move her to hospice. And they moved her to a nice room in a hospice facility where they could take good care of her instead of putting her in a cramped old, crumped up old hospital room. And she stayed a few days in that nice room until she finally decided to make a spit for the Lord. And God blessed her in the state of it. And that's where sometimes God blesses us. We have to see the miraculous things. Even in death, God does miraculous things in our lives and helps us in our faith journey and helps us come stronger and become stronger in our faith journeys to help us go alongside and grow alongside in his spirit. Because he promises us great things. Jesus concludes in this passage. He concludes in this passage by saying, you will see greater things than these. Then he refers to the connection between heaven and earth as they open the heaven and the angels ascend and descend on the Son of Man. Surely this has to sound confusing to some of those early disciples, but they were trying to wrap their minds around the words of Jesus, and as it may sound strange to us. But Paul says in his letter to Ephesians, now unto him who is able to do immeasurably more than we ask him or imagine, according to his power and his work. God is just not going to do miracles for you. He's going to do great miracles for you. God is not going to just move in your life. God is going to move mightily in your life. God does not do average things. He does above and beyond average things in your life. He's just not going to give you good. He's going to give you great. He's not going to make you better. He's going to make you the best. God's going to take you out of first gear and move you to fifth gear. God doesn't drive Humpties. God drives first-class Cadillacs. God is going to move you to a higher level in your life, in your service, in your ministry, in your spirit, and allow you to become more than you may even think of yourself. As we follow Jesus, we are promised not only to see the miraculous, but to experience greater things. Our journey with him is a constant revelation of divine wonders through prayer, through worship, through total surrendering our lives to Christ. We have access into the heavenly realm to witness the divine intervention of God in all of our circumstances. And in the world around us, we must answer the invitation to come and see, to step out in our faith. Some will, some can't, and some won't. Not every disciple stepped out of the boat. Not every disciple went to see the empty tomb. Not everyone that was his disciples believed in him and took the risk of staying around after he had been arrested and crucified. But it's a risk worth taking. An invitation to come and see is an invitation to encounter, to witness, to participate in greater things. It's not just an invitation to look at and return to your journey of a lifetime. It's about following Jesus, sharing in Jesus, glorifying Jesus with our lives. It's the fulfillment of what Jesus said when he said, I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Come, all ye who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinner, and purify your heart, you double-minded. Come now and let's settle this matter, says the Lord. Though your sins are scarlet, they shall be made white as snow. Though they are red as crimson, they shall be made as wool. As we wrap up today, I want to draw our attention to a prophetic repetition that we find in the passage. And I found this quite interesting as I saw this. Peter saw Jesus for who he really was. Nathanael couldn't see how anything good can come from Nazareth. But Philip invited Nathanael to see for himself. Jesus saw Nathanael sitting under a tree. Nathanael's eyes were open to see who Jesus was. Jesus tells his disciples that they will see greater things. Now they see prophecy come to life before their eyes. Maybe you have had a hard time seeing. But Jesus came into your life because you've been looking at the wrong places. You're looking in the wrong direction. You're looking at yourself. You're looking at your own thoughts, your own ideas. Maybe he's been with you all the time, right next to you, walking through the valley in unison with you every step that you took. Maybe he's been cheering you on, protecting you from the lies of your enemies. Maybe he's been cultivating a path right in front of you, helping you go in the right direction, even though you didn't know you were going in his direction. Maybe you and I just need to answer the call today to follow Jesus. Come and see. Know that as we respond to Jesus' call in our lives become canvases, as we said earlier, on which God can paint many wonders. May we embrace this journey. May you embrace the journey with faith, knowing that Jesus means we are truly seeing amazing things in our lives, in our worlds, in the glory, because the risk is worth taking. And now, more than ever, given all the things that are happening in our world, we are at a turning point. We are at a turning point. And I shared this. I've always known it, but we got proof and facts last night at the banquet. The speaker reminded us that as of 2021, people of color represented 47% of the United States population. And Caucasians was at 54. And he showed us, and this came out of the Hermitage Foundation's report. By the year 3035, that number will be flip-flopped. The majority will now be the minority. And the main purpose of Project 2025 was to make sure the 49% still had majority. Now, I do math, you do math, ain't nobody in here that dumb. 47% is not more than 54. But the whole purpose of Project 25 is so that the majority can still have majority. And I reached over and I shared this with Reverend Scott, who was sitting next to me. And I said, we've all heard that before, we just don't realize when we heard it. And he said, yeah, we have. I said, yeah. When Joseph was living in Egypt, the Egyptians and the Israelites got along. You can read it in Exodus. The Pharaoh said, these Israelites, they are growing and multiplying. And pretty soon they're going to outnumber us. We need to do something because they might get smart and rise up and attack us. So they had to enslave them so that they could maintain their control. But keep reading in Exodus. Despite their enslavement, they still multiplied. And the facts are there in the Bible. By the time Moses came back to free them from their slavery, they outnumbered the Egyptians, but were still living in slavery because their hearts wasn't right, their minds wasn't right. Moses had to step in and share with them, you're not going to let these majority folk stay in slavery. You are to release them and let them go. Pharaoh had to see for himself. He didn't believe it. He didn't want to do it. But Pharaoh had to see for himself what God was capable of doing. We don't need to wait around for God to free us from 2024. You go to the polls. It's just that easy. You don't have to wait for God. If God wake you up on November 3rd, matter of fact, if God wake you up when the polls open on the first day of opening, don't wait till that. That's another thing. Don't procrastinate and wait till the last day. Go the first day. And get it done with. That way, if you make a mistake and if they try, because they will try to block you, and if they try to keep you from voting, you can come back the next day, and the next day, and the next day, until you finally get to that ballot room and cast your vote. You got time, but if you wait and procrastinate, you probably will fail. And when 2024, November, January come around, you might regret your decision. Because once the 49 gain power, and they will, you might as well, like the Israelites had to do, put some chains on your legs, take your shirts off because they're going to tear your backs up. Grease yourself up good because whips do hurt. You might as well learn how to say massa again. We're gonna be fighting. Because most of us black folk the same. We're the same. Some of us gonna be fighting to work in the big house, and the others gonna be fighting to work out in the field. And we're gonna become jealous of each other because the folk in the big house get to eat in the room with the massa, and the others are out here slaving, picking cotton. But now, one thing that's good for us, they got tractors now and stuff, so you ain't got to be out there doing it by hand. But you probably still have to learn how to use that tractor and do it that way. I mean, some things, advancements in technology can help us. But there's a difference because now farmers do it and they get paid for it. There's a big difference. We're gonna do it for free. We're gonna do it for free. You ain't gonna, I guarantee you, you're not gonna get a dime. So you might as well get used to eating watermelons again, chillings, whatever they hand me down the master give us. That's what happens when we fail to recognize what's happening in front of us. And we have the power to change and won't change. We've got to challenge ourselves. Come and see. Doors of the church open. Doors of the church open. Come and see if you've not met Jesus in your life, we invite you to come and see and experience him for yourself. He is here, he is able, he's capable of redeeming and doing powerful things in our lives. If you're on Facebook, Zoom, you can pray that prayer that's going to come on that screen in just a few minutes. We invite you and we challenge you to come. As we share here today.